r/ask Reddit, girls who took notes using 50 different colored pens, where are you now? Do you still continue to write using Althose colors? I'm a physician. I doctor specifically. I will tell you that the longer I work, now 15 years, my standard for the average person continues to decline. Case in point, thanks to the awful information filtering out there, I had a patient just last week who read that vitamin D helps you resist a coronavirus infection. Well, he had also read that you can get more vitamin D by getting more sun. So he wanted to collect as much light as possible with his eyes. As a result, he stared at the sun for a solid 60 seconds and burned holes directly into his retinas, permanently reducing his vision with no chance at future improvement. One guy I met said that English is the true language of God because the Bible is written in English. I used to work in travel and the amount of people that did not understand the following was staggering. / You cannot take a 3-7 round trip night cruise from Miami to Australia, and no, your friend did not just book this. / No, there are in fact no ocean-bound cruises leaving from Arizona. / You cannot take a cruise from Miami to Hawaii and back in 7 to 10 days. / No, the airport is closed due to hurricane / flood / ice, and you cannot demand a flight in a different carrier out of the same airport in the next hour. Also no, you did not just see someone book this. / Yes, it is a shorter flight for your friends from East Coast US to the Caribbean than you in Europe, and no, nobody can change that. / Yes, I will need your DD-214 to confirm a military rate. No, your word you were in a covered unit will not suffice, and no, I am not disrespecting the military because I cannot simply take your word for it. / Yes, if a passport / visas / travel vaccinations are needed for you to travel, you will need. Customers arguing that their tattoo is backwards while their artist tries to explain that no, your tattoo is fine, it just looks backwards because that's how mirrors work. A girl in one of my college classes argued that heart transplants shouldn't be allowed because that's where the feelings are and the person receiving the heart wouldn't be the same person anymore. Oof. Good one. Okay, so my favorite was a guy who was planning his honeymoon but he didn't have a lot of money. He was bummed about the cost of air travel. A friend suggested a train ride might be cheaper. He became frustrated after a few days of trying and complained that he couldn't find any trains going to Hawaii. It still didn't sink in because he had seen pictures of trains in Hawaii. He couldn't grasp that they were shipped there. It got even more surreal after that. Friend of mine showered in cold water for a year cause he never thought of turning the other tap to see what it would do. I used to work for a chatbot app. Our app would text our users every morning with a greeting in a different language, i.e. hola, bonjour, etc. One day we got blown up by a user saying their account was hacked. She said, "My name is Kim Smith, not Kim Kanikawa, someone's hacked my account." When we explained that our service has been clearly saying hello to her in other languages every day and that Kanikawa is hello in Japanese and her account was fine, she went on a racist rant and said Disney was behind the destruction of America. Yep. About half the calls I take on a daily basis. People call 911 to ask whether Walmart is open. To report that they didn't get enough mayo on their burger. To complain that cleanup at a fatality wreck is taking too long. All sorts of silly, out of touch crap. Granted, there is probably some level of mental illness and / or substance abuse present in those calls. But still. I just had a customer yell at me for putting their eggs in a separate bag, saying they don't want all those bags and the paperons always rip. Before putting it in the bag and throwing a pound of flour on top. It was somewhat satisfying seeing their face as we heard the cracks, until I realized I'm the one who needed to clean it up. Oh, also she complained that we hadn't warned her about the fragility of eggs. My dad is a pesticide investigator for the state and heard these in a complaint. I set out all these bird feeders and bird baths but not one bird comes to my yard. I bet it is all those pesticides that crop duster is laying down in the field. Local school board member, as they were standing in her 5-acre yard with 20 or more cats running around. Getting a misdialed call from a random person who gets mad at you because you're not the one he/she was looking for. Happens with me several times a year. Old boss had a morning routine of walking around the office with a bucket. He was watering all of the plastic flowers. I once owned a smart car and some stranger approached me at a gas station about why I didn't have a slow vehicle sign in the back of it, since all moped cars must have that. I tried explaining that it was a real car, just a bit smaller, but he didn't take it. According to him, I was driving illegally and he was surprised the police hadn't stopped me yet on the highway. At the start of working from home due to COVID, I had a few users submit tickets for connectivity issues. These tickets got through 2 lines of support before landing in my queue. Turns out that the corporate Wi-Fi doesn't follow you home and you need home internet in order to connect to the VPN. I used to manage a retail store that sold teen clothing, so as expected, I primarily had teens working for me. One employee came to the back room while I was on break and asked what I was eating. Somehow the topic turned to how I should have brought chicken for lunch because she wanted chicken. I told her I was vegetarian and therefore don't eat meat. She tells me chicken not meat. It's poultry, and vegetarians can eat poultry. She said at the grocery store the aisles list meat and poultry separately, so they're obviously different. We argued for a couple of minutes before I finally told her to go back to the sales floor. She didn't last at the job long, but damn. The Georgia senator that wanted to prevent sending troops to Ani's land because he was worried it would capsize. I do aquatic habitat restoration in a spring-fed river that people frequently tube/float on. Myself and numerous others been asked if it comes back around so they can get out. You know the reason you bury a rattlesnake after you kill it is because bees will eat it, then bees can sting people with rattlesnake venom. Guy I heard constantly trying to pick up women on public transit. At the DMV. I went to renew my license. I was waiting in a room with the computers that people use to take the written portion. The clerk sat a man down, looked him in the eyes and said, if you pull your phone out it's an automatic fail. The window licker says it while pulling out his phone and immediately failing. I worked in retail for a few years and it taught me that many people are either incapable or unwilling to read. I have had people walk up to me to ask me how much something is, only for the price tag to be featured prominently on the item. It's $9.99, ma'am. How did you know? It says so on the price tag, ma'am. I worked with a lady who was remarking on how a friend of hers had lost a bunch of weight. She pondered, I wonder how many Diet Cokes she had to drink to do that. Edit, same lady was convinced beyond repair that when you sneeze, the air only comes out of your nose. There was no convincing her otherwise. I teach 6th grade. One time a parent came to me after trying to help their child with math homework and asked, what number is worth? It feels like it changes with every problem. I worked at a bank. Mobile depositing had just became a thing. We received a picture of someone's cash for deposit. Yeah. There is a considerable overlap between the intelligence of the smartest bears and the dumbest tourists. Yosemite Park rang air on why it's hard to design a bear-proof garbage can. A woman I used to work with who insisted that any animal could reproduce with any other animal. She believed that sperm from any animal was the same and that DNA was irrelevant. She believed this because she once saw some sickly, possibly deformed puppies and decided that they must have been half dog and half rat. A former co-worker was talking about how she wanted to go back to school to get her master's degree because she only had a bachelorette degree and wanted more job opportunities. I said, do you mean a bachelor's degree? She insisted it was pronounced bachelorette when it was given to a woman. Then she led me back to her office and pointed at her diploma, to the word baccalaureate, and said, see. Bachelorette. A former co-worker was talking about how she wanted to go back to school to get her master's degree because she only had a bachelorette degree and wanted more job opportunities. I said, do you mean a bachelor's degree? She insisted it was pronounced bachelorette when it was given to a woman. Then she led me back to her office and pointed at her diploma, to the word baccalaureate, and said, see. Bachelorette. I had a bald man return a hairdryer because it burned his head. Every time I put on my glasses so I can see better while looking for my glasses. Was at a party and someone's crafty old truck got stuck in some mud, so instead of sobering up and coming back the next day, he makes a Molotov cocktail with gas and throws it at the truck. The truck caught fire and was completely destroyed. Jason. The woman that called into a radio station to complain about theater crossing signs on a highway saying that the deer will see the sign and consider this place a safe place to cross the road. www.youtube.com/watch?v=RFCRJ www.youtube.com/watch?v=RFCRJ. When I was in high school, We were reading a short story about what would have happened if the Japanese attacked us back with nuclear weapons after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A girl in my class raised her hand and said something along the lines of, "Why does this matter? None of it is real anyway." The teacher had to ask her to clarify, but this girl thought World War II and the bombing of Japan were just from a movie and didn't actually happen. The best part is, the girl was half Japanese. Edit. Wow, thank you for all of the upvotes. I have a ton more stories about this girl, so maybe I'll post some on a different subreddit soon. Worked at a larger grocery chain whose deli used scales that would show you digitally the weight, so 1½ pounds would show 1.50 lbs on the scale, etc. The person I worked, F35YRS, had to ask me to come over and tell her how much she had sliced every time she assisted someone for over 4 months. She had passed the written and verbal test they give to verify that you should be able to do this. She didn't seem to have problems reading any other signs or numbers, so I don't think dyslexia played a part, but man, it was so frustrating trying to do my job and hers. Along the same line, my previous employer used a 100-minute clock for the time clock. This meant if you arrived in time, your punch would read 8:50. The manager of the department assigned timekeeping to another person, because he knew he didn't understand it. After several weeks of everyone punching in at 8:50, we all get called in for it. First of all, we were all salaried, except one person, so the time didn't really matter in terms of the law. But it kept the peace, so no one complained. We all got ripped up one side and down the other, and no one was allowed to speak. Not that any of them tried, except me. When the manager and the timekeeper finally shut up, I pointed out that the clock runs on 100 minutes, not 60, so therefore we were all on time, or early. They stood dumbfounded when they looked at the clock, and I literally showed an analog clock with 100 minutes. So then I walk it further to point out that as salaried employees, none of these matters, and that none of us. I work in IT. I once had a lady call me from home because she couldn't get connected to her VPN. I asked her if she was connected to her home wireless network. She replied saying that she did not have home wireless. I then asked how she was connecting to the internet. Her reply was, "I'm using the cell tower. I can see it from my house." While this is technically possible with a hotspot or cellular card in your PC, this isn't what she meant. She thought she could get internet service via Wi-Fi from the cell tower. One of my nieces had a cold as a toddler and was breathing through her mouth. My ex-BIL flipped out because he didn't want her to get carbon monoxide poisoning from breathing through her mouth instead of her nose, the normal way. Pensive face. I'm an insurance claims adjuster. If you truly knew how many stupid drivers you're sharing the road with, you'd never drive again. Edit. Because I keep getting this question, I avoid driving whenever possible. I have a car, but I take the bus to / from work. I never drive at night. I'm an insurance claims adjuster. If you truly knew how many stupid drivers you're sharing the road with, you'd never drive again. Edit. Because I keep getting this question, I avoid driving whenever possible. I have a car, but I take the bus to / from work. I never drive at night. When farms have trouble producing their crops, and you ask some crap if that worries them, I don't get my food from a farm, I get it from Walmart. On 9/11, the general manager called his daughter, who was attending ASU, to wake her up and make sure she saw what was going on. The customer service manager said, "It won't be on her TV yet, Arizona is 2 hours behind us." On 9/11, the general manager called his daughter, who was attending ASU, to wake her up and make sure she saw what was going on. The customer service manager said, "It won't be on her TV yet, Arizona is 2 hours behind us." I worked at Little Caesars and we were proofing the dough for pizza. My boss said, at 7 p.m., that the dough needed to rise for 12 hours, and took out her calculator to do the math. So I said, that's gonna be 7 a.m. Then she said the dough will expire in 48 hours and started doing the math again. I told her it would expire 2 days from now, and she said that's kinda weird how that works out, huh? I quit shortly after that. I work at a restaurant. We were low on tomatoes for our tomato soup, so one person grabbed potatoes to see if we could use those instead. When my mum unironically claimed that the moon landing was fake because the moon was like 40 times the size of Earth. How that proves it was fake I don't know. Hate to think she raised me, lol. I had a friend once who truly believed that magicians like Chris Angel and David Blaine had some kind of magical power or telekinesis, something along those lines. While watching one of those magicians on TV performing on the street, he argued, how could this be fake? Look at all those people. Can't fake all that. Has to be some kind of power or magic. I would then have toast, do you realize that movies are fake? They fake entire universes, planets, cities, war, etc. He didn't get what I was getting at. Infantryman was told to trim the hedges. So he lifted the lawnmower. His buddy started it. As a brand new medic, I spent about 6 hours pulling finger meat from the hedges. Edit, thank S for the award. Update, sorry, I'm a redder and on a phone. For clarification, it was early 2004 after OIF1 in the 82nd. I was a PFC with only a year and a half in service. We bandaged him, then used tourniquet, temporarily. Senior medics took him to the ER. I was field sanitation qualified, so I was left in charge of cleanup. 6 hours was excessive, but after we pulled most the meat and bone out, we had to hose down the hedges, the ground, the grass he bled in, the ground/floor outside and inside where he left a decent amount of blood had to be rinsed and sterilized. The mower had to be rinsed and cleaned. It had some damage from drop. The private that started the mower had to be smoked by his NCO. We finished in about 4 hours of actual work with 2 hours off ducking off mixed in, cause the sham sh. I once offered a girl a tuna sandwich, and made a comment about tuna being dolphin friendly. She then said, I thought tuna fish came from dolphins. Just scroll down a web page or Facebook feed and have a look at ads. Things like only 2% can solve this puzzle crap like that. Those ads get posted so much because they actually work on a lot of people. In grade 10, we had a science test, and the teacher gave 1 point for putting a date on the paper, and 1 point for your name on the paper, and then there were 98 points for the rest of the test. A guy sitting in front of me got 0.5/100, didn't write the date and only wrote his first name. I was doing a COVID decon of a medical supply warehouse that had a confirmed positive employee not too long ago, and while my team was inside doing our thing, the floor/shift manager was following us around without a mask or gloves or really any of the proper PPE except for a high-vis vest and steel toe boots. I had told her to leave the room. I was fogging with viricide. Edit, meanwhile, we were wearing full-level C hazmat suits with P100 combo cartridge respirators and all seams taped up. One of my closest friends. Really good guy, but well. I'm learning Spanish and I once told him I was reading this Don Quixote book. I complained about how difficult it was because it was written in 1605. And he said, wait. Spanish existed back then. At a work Christmas party in a Mexican restaurant, an Irish colleague was trying to argue the pronunciation of jalapenos with the Mexican waitress was jalapenos. He wasn't joking and got so upset with her taking the piss out of him that he made a scene and we almost got thrown out. That trick where you call water by a scary chemical name like the hydrogen monoxide so that people will want to regulate or ban it. That trick where you call water by a scary chemical name like the hydrogen monoxide so that people will want to regulate or ban it. I once got into an argument with someone over my own name. There are 2 pronunciations, German and English. And they just couldn't accept the fact that I use the English pronunciation despite the fact that we were speaking English and it's what I've used me whole life, but nope, I was lying to mess with them. I once got into an argument with someone over my own name. There are 2 pronunciations, German and English. And they just couldn't accept the fact that I use the English pronunciation despite the fact that we were speaking English and it's what I've used me whole life, but nope, I was lying to mess with them. High school. History. Topic. Titanic. So the iceberg was about the size of a, yes Ms. D \__________________________________________________________________________________________________ Don't icebergs fall out of the sky? To this day I picture an iceberg the size of a small island falling from the sky being seen for hundreds of miles away like a Dukan meteor. Not necessarily the exact thing you're looking for, but when he was in high school I once had a friend come up to me bragging about his PSAT. I recognized immediately that he got a pret typo score. When I mentioned to him that I didn't think it was a very good score, he confidently proclaimed, but it says I'm smarter than 15% of juniors, and I'm only a sophomore. To which I rebutted, yeah, but imagine the dumbest 15% of people. That's not very good. People that cut holes in their masks because it's easier to breathe. Hey, you made it to the end, nice job. Remember to like and subscribe, it's free and you can unsub whenever you want. Am I allowed to answer if I'm a guy? Because I ended up becoming the Excel guy in my office. All of my spreadsheets are exquisitely color-coded. My grade 9 science teacher forced us all to do it. He said that by color-coding everything you understood the material better because you had to think about it longer to color-code it and understand what other things it was associated with. Not just zone out and go into transcribing mode. He also made us do end-of-unit study guides. They had to be color-coded, a set amount of drawings, and unit words and definitions. The drawings were doodles based on things in the unit. He would mark them and hand them back before the test, which was great because he knew if he needed to help us with something before we bombed the test. He was also a MMA fighter with cauliflower ears and not the type of guy you would expect to demand rainbow-colored notes. Edit. There's a lot of people asking for examples, so I'll make one up this afternoon. There's a PM at my company that does this. No idea how the hell she has the focus and time to take such detailed technicolor dream notes during meetings, but I've never had a problem with getting any relevant info from her, so / / _ gotta respect note-taking game like that. We all became bullet journalists. Certain law school prep guides teach you to take notes on court opinions using different colors. 90% of first-year law students show up with 4 different color highlighters. By the end of the last year, few still use them. In legal practice I have developed color coding for notes of the cases I'm working on. I have not yet found a way to put a heart over the I in my filings. I use different ink and highlighter colors to compensate for terrible ad. I work in a chemistry lab now. Sometimes I'll still use brightly colored pens to record my results for fun, but I didn't ever switch between colors / color code anything anymore. All the different colored ink / highlighting help me remember minutes come exam time, so now that I'm out of college, I don't need to switch between colors. I low-key miss color coding and taking notes sometimes, though. I still color code based on class. Each class has a color. This color includes the folder color, the pen color, the sticky note color that the assignments are written on and placed in my planner on the date they are due. I also teach intro statistics to undergraduates, where I also color code parts of the equations and the values that get inserted to the equation, so students can see where the numbers come from more easily. * edited to change kids to students. That was a poor word choice in my part. Apologies. I'm a medical lab technician. I took notes with a million different colored pens in college, up until 2 years ago. I graduated at age 41. Just bought myself a nice new set of gel pens. Real talk, multiple colors really helped me categorize and compress complex ideas into things I could remember. It helped a lot in understanding the material and studying for tests. I will never forget sitting in class and asking the girl sitting next to me for a pen, and she turns back to me with a straight face and says to me, "What color?" Edit, this, blew up. Thank you for the award, that marks my first, but hopefully not the last. I work in IT, and yes, I still have all those colors and still lose them all in my day planner. I think they're teachers now, and yes, they still use all those colors. I work in an office setting now and do still like to use different colored pens for things, if the situation allows it. I don't know if this will make sense to anyone else, but I love colors. I especially like the idea of colors being associated with ideas, personalities, names, or themes. Oh, today is Monday. I think orange is a good Monday color. Pink is Friday. Green is Wednesday. I love how Windows 10 allows me to change the color soft tiles so that my computer seems more like me. I am constantly changing the colors of my Apple Watch face. I don't know. I think I have a problem. EDA, the thoughts and discussions being shared here have been very interesting and eye-opening, thanks for the silver as well. Smiley face. I do just want to add that I am fairly certain I do not have synesthesia. I know someone that does, and from my very limited knowledge of it, it isn't a voluntary association of colors like mine probably would be. I always automatically like to associate stuff with color or mood. My wife did this when we were in school and she still loves using multicolored pens for everything she can. She even uses her own pretty colors for writing in the labels for things at work. You can always tell work that was done by her from everyone else's. A true ray of sunshine. Edit, I told my wife about all the upvotes on this comment and she is thrilled about all the attention, smiley face. Edit 2, 1:27 7 p.m, thank you so much to both of the kind strangers who awarded this comment. Never thought it would blow up so much. The wife is happy, smiley face. I actually do. I'm now a professional scientist and it makes my lab notebook pretty, plus frankly often it's really helpful to have multiple colors. I also like having a bunch of colors for seminar speakers because it somehow keeps me more interested to choose a different color for a different speaker. Honestly though, the core reason is the main reason I enjoy multiple colors is because I often feel the secret to success against procrastination is negotiating with your inner 5-year-old. Okay, you need to write these notes, but if you do you can't who's what color to write them in. You might as well find a little happiness in the world where you can. Smiley face. Unfortunately not allowed in the line of work I chose. So now I use 50 different colored post-it notes. Improvise, adapt and overcome. I am a med student now. Also I am failing because I no longer have time to use fancy pens and prepare colorful notes for all my classes. I'm one of those girls currently in college. I don't do it because I'm organized or anything, I just ducking love buying pens/markers and otherwise I can't pay attention to my notes. It's aesthetically appealing to me, which immensely helps encourage me to actually take notes. I have a few friends that do that, one of them is studying to be a doctor, moved the colored pens to a tablet to easily switch colors. Another wants to become a sign language translator, keep forgetting the actual term. I have a few friends that do that, one of them is studying to be a doctor, moved the colored pens to a tablet to easily switch colors. Another wants to become a sign language translator, keep forgetting the actual term. A guy classmate of mine did this. One of the smartest in the class. His notes were fantastic. He's an engineer now and has a great family life from what I see on his FB. Cool guy. Jason, if I rereading this, you rock, my dude. They migrated to /r/fountain pens and use 50 different inks with 100 different pens now. I'm a high school English teacher and there's a big correlation between note-taking skills and success in my classes. Color coding notes definitely helps. I mostly write everything in purple now, but sometimes I use other colors and I like colorful post-it notes. I am working towards being a kindergarten teacher. Sure do. I'm almost 35, in college, and still using multicolored pens. Edit, slow down, if you want a copy, message me. Edit 2, I'm sorry if I don't get to everyone, there's a lot you guys asking. Hope you understand. Have a nice day, smiley face. I color coded my notes. I have OCD and it makes everything feel neater and easier to flick through. If you want, I'll give my system as I found it to very useful, maybe you will too. Oh, and I am currently unemployed, but due to the recent birth of my son, James, I've been looking into jobs, smiley face, or, an alternative way. I use black for titles and subtitles, as, for me, the title isn't that important. The dates are written in a subtle color, because the focus should be on the stuff below. I'm not focusing on the title, more on the definitions, keywords, diagrams, instructions. SE. Blue is the most used, as that's usually what I use for simple stuff. Red is used for diagrams, definitions and instructions, and research shows that red helps with more detailed information than blue. Also, red is cool. I highlight keywords in. I paint for a living, so I switched from pens to paint. The gel pens were fun but impractical. I stick to basic ink colors because it's easier to read things with a strong contrast. But I have Sharpies in every color because doodling is fun. I'm an engineer with dyslexia and ADHD, I took notes with tons of colors and still do now. The colors help me stay organized, keep track of numbers and not mix up information. I keep like with like categorically and have a whole notation system. A friend recommended I try it in college and it helped me go from X's to B and A's. I'm good at picturing notes and the colors help to guide my brain to the relevant information in my memory picture, if that makes sense. In all one color it just looked like a jumbled mess. Either way, yes, I still use colored pens as a 30-year-old adult engineer woman shrugging. My cousin did this in HS, she is now a very organized and successful nurse. I went from being in school to be a grade school art teacher to stay-at-home/homeschooling mom to now finishing up a graduate degree in computer science and have job lined up as a software developer. And yes, I still use all those colors, and elf lord in VIM because colors. And it's the easiest for me to read. This reminds me of a girl in one of my college classes. It would be inaccurate to say she took notes. She took transcripts. She would write down everything in class. Everything the teacher said, every quote from the book that were read. Even every rabbit trail the class went down, she'd taking meticulous notes, including asking students for their first and last names so she could attribute the quotes properly. Our midterm exam was a 10-page paper. She spent 30 hours on hers and got a 97%. I spent 2 hours on mine and got a 93%. He was much happier trading that 4% of my grade for 28 hours of my life. This reminds me of a girl in one of my college classes. It would be inaccurate to say she took notes. She took transcripts. She would write down everything in class. Everything the teacher said, every quote from the book that were read. Even every rabbit trail the class went down, she'd taking meticulous notes, including asking students for their first and last names so she could attribute the quotes properly. Our midterm exam was a 10-page paper. She spent 30 hours on hers and got a 97%. I spent 2 hours on mine and got a 93%. He was much happier trading that 4% of my grade for 28 hours of my life. I had a friend who used to do that. One of the smartest people I knew. She is married now and has a kid and is a stay-at-home mom. I had a friend who used to do that. One of the smartest people I knew. She is married now and has a kid and is a stay-at-home mom. Bold of you to assume that's a girl-only thing. I don't write much anymore, but I still use colored pens for my personal notes. The color depends on my mood. When I used to keep a meticulous fitness agenda, everything was color-coded. Removed. Removed. I have a bag of scented markers and a bag of rainbow pens I keep in my office for when I attend work meetings. Also not a teacher, but I am a director of a facility that serves kids. Yup. Homeschooling Sam here. I use one set of colors for my personal planner. Each person has their own color. Bills have own, holidays and birthdays share one, family and community events have their own, and finally the animals have a color. School planning has another set for each subject. I knew a guy who would take color-coded notes in class. Then immediately after class go through them and then do even more advanced color coding with added references and stuff. He was probably the hardest working and smartest guy I've ever known. And he grew up in a small village in Venezuela and now is a U.S. citizen and officer in the Navy. Made me embarrassed that he is a better speaker in 2 languages than I am in 1. It's my time to shine. I really sucked at taking notes. I failed out of 7th grade. I scraped by in high school. I got into the lowest tier university in the state only because they automatically accepted anyone with an ACT score over 21. Then I flunked out. Twice. I eventually did graduate with a degree, that I never used, but it was with a 2.7 GPA. This is just to demonstrate how awful I was at note-taking, studying, anything involving recording and retaining information of the academic persuasion. Then I decided I was really tired of living below the line of poverty and got a master's in science. This required being at the very least passable at recording and retaining academic information. This is where the copious color-coded pens came in. And the color-coded highlighters. And the color-coded sticky notes. And the color-coded accordion folders. He was finally able to properly record information in a way I could retain, which led to my appointment as research assistant, T. They now work for the FBI as analysts. They are all called Penelope Garcia. Ended up in med school, so not doing bad, I guess. I do still continue color coding everything in college as I did in high school and before. My case of synesthesia lets me see words, letters, and certain concepts in different colors. By using the same colors to actually write the words or underline them, I solidify the memory links in my brain and it helps me remember things. I also take graphic notes with arrows and double lines or write in groups of small areas, etc. so that I can clearly categorize things I need to remember. If you're a visual learner, this helps a lot. Nurse here. 4 colored pens are an absolute must for my job to keep organized. On my assignment sheet, anything ordinary in black, code status in red, Things I need to do in blue, lab results in green. Then I'm at peace. I'm a dramatic artist and I used all the pens just for that. Miniatures hated me for giving them rainbows of notes and work. Booty always wrote them a little key on the back of the paper so they grudgingly accepted it. Except one math teacher who liked and looked forward to my stuff. I'm now a dog boarder and my schedules are so colorful only I can decipher them. I still art but not as much unfortunately, sad face. We all have bullet journals now. As a guy who has been doing this for almost 7 years of uni now I can say that it's absolutely worth it. Pleasant looking and well organized notes go a long way to make reviewing material 100 times more enjoyable. Wife did this as a kid, through high school and became amped in college. But now she's a teacher and writes in different colors for a living. We're currently moving out of the country and she can part with pens she doesn't even use. She managed to smuggle them into her carry-on bag. Send help. I'm 22, in university and this year I'm trying to really improve me studying and note-taking outside of lectures. So, I decided Toto 3 colored notes with red, blue and black pens because all ith girls I know take notes like that and they all have much better GPAs than I do. Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec was definitely one of those girls, only she replaced the pens with binders. i.imager.com/rlhuic4.gifv. I graduated with my PhD. I still have a love of extremely neat notes with color coding and fonts and neatly drawn graphs. My licensing exam study binder was a thing of beauty and I actually wound up making a PowerPoint presentation for last year's residents on the exam and study tips, complete with several personalized memes. This crap brings me so much joy, smiley face. I still have about 8 different colors of pens in my office, although now all my reports are typed and have to conform to a particular aesthetic so I'm stuck. I do, however, now have a handmade stone pen courtesy of my father-in-law and a very cool fountain pen made from trimmed branches of a 100-year-old olive tree that my husband gifted me. So no more neat colors but my love of excellent writing materials lives on. I am still in school, I used to get straight A's, but now I'm not even straight. Edit, I spend too much to asking girls to borrow their pens. I was exactly this girl, I had about 50 glittery colored gel pens, and for each school assignment I would choose 5 random different ones to write and decorate my notebooks with. 20 years later, I'm a graphic designer and illustrator. I still love making things nice and colorful with cool typography. Basically did not change at all, I just have slightly better taste now. Not a girl but in my business law class during undergrad we were allowed to use our notes for the tests. It was much easier to color code everything so I could find it quickly if I needed to reference it, different colors for terms, cases, outcomes, etc. I've been unemployed for about 6 months. Hey, you made it to the end, nice job. Remember to like and subscribe, it's free and you can unsub whenever you want.